I'm finding that people are realizing that we've gotten away from the principles that have brought blessing to our country, and they're now really starting to lean into their faith. They want to love their husbands, their wives, their kids. They know that they must and they want to reach out to their neighbors no matter how different they are from them. So I really do feel there's been a big shift in our culture, and that there's a fresh momentum and an awakening that is brewing at the grassroots. And so I want to feed that fire. I want to build on that momentum by holding another national family meeting for the family of faith, because we don't have to be divided. We can 100% come together across all these divides and find hope and courage and unity together. So, again, I'm assembling the dream team of thinkers and leaders and worshipers. And we've got Dr. Ben Carson going to be there, Alex and Stephen Kendrick, the filmmakers behind Fireproof and War Room, Ravi Zacharias, Johnny Erickson Tada, Zach Williams is going to be playing some amazing music and leading in praise and worship all night. And we're going to gather hundreds of thousands strong across the nation again to call out to God to revive our nation and show us the way to unity.
That's wonderful. You know, there's an amazing video on YouTube, I don't know if you've seen it, where there was a Trump rally, a Make America Great Again rally, and these Black Lives Matter protesters show up to sort of make their voices heard. And the thing went viral because the Trump people in the middle of it said, hey, come on up here and say something to the Black Lives Matter people. They said, hey, you know, we're all Americans. Come up here, take the stage, say what you got to say. And it's beautiful because at the end, they're all shaking hands, saying we're all Americans. You got your say, I got my say. And I think those little things, just those 10, 20 feet of, come on over here, man. I'm not afraid of you. You're not afraid of me. Take the mic for a few minutes. We're all Americans. We're all children of God. Say what you got to say. And I think little things like that are not complicated go a long way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think they do. I think they do. And I appreciate people who are making efforts to do that and are leading the way. And you know, what I'm hoping to do, Mark, is I'm hoping to kind of pull back the curtain and talk about some of the things that I think are really key to finding real unity. Yeah, I think that what we have tried to do a lot of times is we try to find the lowest common denominator between two groups with differing opinions, and you try to find some lowest common denominator, common ground to build on. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it's you know, it's like throwing two cats into a bag, and it's just a cat fight, because really at the heart, people aren't looking for unity as much as they're looking to be right. And that works in marriage, right? If you're just looking to win the fight and win the argument, you're never going to find unity, no matter how much time you spend together. What I want to do is get to the heart of what produces true unity. And I think we need to go higher than Washington, D.C. to find that. I think we need to go all the way up to the throne room of heaven. And I think we need to get wisdom from above there and start, shaking that down on America and applying that to all these different issues that divide us, whether it's the national anthem and the flag, or whether it's race or politics or economics, whatever.
Yes, but the way I see it, and I know you don't want to get too political here, is that when you're dealing with a heavily secular, sort of secular left in the country that is coercive. It's what the great theologian George Weigel called, a secularism wedded to a coercive state. In other words, where the state is trying to coerce nuns to pay for contraception, bakers to make cakes. It's wonderful to try to use metaphysical and elevated ideas because you're right. Heaven can't provide the answers to that. But the demonic does exist in this world, and when you headbutt up against it, sometimes there's no alternative but spiritual warfare. So when do you decide when it's time for spiritual warfare and when it's time for turn the other cheek, give me your hand, and let's appeal to God? How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, what do you mean by spiritual warfare?
I mean, like confronting the demonic, the movie The Exorcist, the archetypal evil that's real when you're talking about things like abortion, which is objectively evil, and people saying, you're not going to come near my body or change my mind on this. And you're talking about something that's very primal and fundamental and in the spiritual realm. And we have a society that's divided, and half people want that, and it's hard to convince them. Not only that, they're trying to coerce us to join their side. And sometimes it gets to a point where you have to perform an exorcism, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, that's right. And so I do understand exactly what you're saying. And I think that's why I think what I'm going to offer at Revive Us, I'm hoping will be a fresh presentation of some of these essential principles. Because you're right. At the end of the day, when it gets down to something that's as wicked as killing babies, this is certainly not. It's a non-negotiable. I mean, murder is not something that we can justify when you're talking about innocent children in the womb. But I think that there is a way for us to begin to heal and move forward, and it is going to mean changing minds. But I'll be honest with you, my mind has been changed about things when I can get into the room and have an honest, respectful conversation with somebody, and it's not about attacking people and just mudslinging and name calling and closing your ears, but people being ready to listen, ready to reason, and appeal to a standard that's outside of both of us that might draw us closer to each other. It's kind of like in marriage. If you take a good marriage class, sometimes people will say, "Well, we just can't get along. We're not on the same page, no matter how hard we try." Then they draw that little picture of the triangle where you and your spouse are the bottom two corners, and then the top corner is that great standard of God and His Word. And if each of you would willingly submit yourselves to that standard and move along that path, getting closer to God, you will probably find yourselves much, much closer together, even though you didn't even try. And so I'm going to try to hold up some standards for people that are timeless, that always produce freedom and prosperity and health, and show people some ways, some creative ways that I think we can work together to begin healing some of these divides. And I'm going to be leaning on a lot of my big brothers and sisters who will be there with me talking about areas that they are experts in, like Ben Carson talking about poverty and the haves and the have-nots, and Ravi Zacharias talking about world religion. He's an atheist who comes out of the Hindu culture who's found a deep love for God through Christianity. So we have a real diverse crowd of people, English speaking, Spanish speaking, Asian, black, white. We're going to be singing. There's going to be some speaking and learning. There's going to be some painting and some surprise artists there. It's going to be really great. And to top it all off, you got 150,000 people praying together. Who knows how many great things can come from that?
Yes. Last couple quick questions. Although I must say about the marriage thing, she's always right. I can solve that one easily. So I don't need the triangle there, Kirk.
Yeah, I know. She's in the room. I can tell.
Okay. Last couple questions. Now, in terms of things that are going on in Hollywood now, I know you don't want to talk about that. I'm not going to broach that subject because you'd rather not talk about it. I respect that. But when you were coming up as an actor, child actor, and then on Growing Pains, did you have people who inspired you? Maybe Alan Thicke or a director or producer? Were there a couple people that you remember that were really mentors and set good examples for you?
You know, one of the kindest people that I met when I was a young actor on Growing Pains was a hero of mine named Henry Winkler, the Fonz.
Oh yeah,
And yeah, he was just such a quiet and humble man, and had such a quiet demeanor, so different from the Fonz. But I remember meeting him and thinking, wow, what a gentle and quiet man that he is. Alan Thicke was like a dad to me on Growing Pains. We spent more time together than probably my own father and I spent during those years because we worked together every day. But at the end of the day, I think my mentors were outside of Hollywood. I really never spent a ton of time hobnobbing with the rich and famous in the business. I had friends at church. I had friends from school. And those are the people that I think made the biggest difference in my life.
that's great. Last question for you. Revive Us 2 is going to be simulcast in theaters around the country on October 24th with an encore screening on November 1st. What are your hopes going into it and coming out of it? Broad picture, going into the holiday season. What do you hope as a result of Revive Us 2?
I'm hoping that the family of faith gets off this negative, pessimistic narrative with regard to the direction of the culture. And I'm hoping that they will remember that we are the light of the world. That's what Christ told his followers. You are the salt of the earth. And so, instead of pointing out the corruption and getting depressed about it, instead of cursing the darkness, let's turn up the light. If not us, who will? And to remember that we're on mission together with the Spirit of God as a family to not only reconcile people individually to God, but to restore a culture that reflects God's goodness and his ways in the world. And I think that it's not only possible, I think it's inevitable. I just don't know when, and I'm trying to be a catalyst to make that now.
Yes, that's a good place to end. Although the last thing I'll mention is one of my favorite films, Diary of a Country Priest. I don't know if you've ever seen it. From the 50s, one of my favorite scenes in any movie. This woman has lost her child who died in infancy, and she's left the church and Christianity, and she's arguing with a priest, and she says to the priest, "How dare you come in here and talk to me about God? Your very scriptures say God is the master of love, and I lost my baby, and get out of here. I don't even want to see you." And the priest says, "God is not the master of love. God is love itself." And that to me always blows me away, that scene in that movie. I always think about that. He says, "God is not the master of love, ma'am. God is love itself."
Yeah, amen.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Kirk, thank you so much for taking the time. I'll send your publicist a link to this when it comes out, and I'll be in the theater watching you, and great luck with it, with Revive Us 2.
Thanks so much, Mark. I appreciate all your thoughtful questions and these good articles, and keep up the good work.